Every single coach has said the same thing I have. All kinds of athletes have said the same thing I have. And the reason they've all said that is because it's the truth. Look, if I'd have known there was some kind of problem, some kind of abuse, I'd have helped out our athletes. What they're saying is just not true.
Richard Strauss killed himself in 2005. Last year, an independent investigation concluded while Dr. Strauss worked at OSU over 2 decades, he sexually abused at least 177 male student patients. Jim Jordan called the report a vindication because it did not name him. The report did not name any wrestling coach at Ohio State, did not find documentary evidence coaches were aware of complaints against Strauss, but 22 coaches confirmed to the investigative team that they were aware of rumors and or complaints about Strauss. Former OSU wrestler Dunyasha Yates says Jordan is one of the coaches who knew because he told him. In January of 1993, Yates went to see Strauss for a thumb sprain, and the doctor tried to pull down his pants. Yates says he kicked open the doctor's door to escape. Jordan was right outside next to an ice machine.
He jumped up like, "What's going on?" I said, "Coach, he just tried to give me a physical exam for my thumb injury. Look, it looks like a baseball. It swelled up." And he was like, "Man, if he ever tried that, I would kill him."
Jordan supporters say Yates can't be trusted because of a past conviction for fraud, but 2 other wrestlers told CNN they witnessed the encounter.
What Dr. Strauss took from me that day was my dignity.
Last year, former wrestlers Dan Ritchie and Mike Flushy told the Ohio legislature that among athletes and coaches, Strauss's sexual abuse was an open discussion.
I do recall somebody bringing up something to one of the assistant coaches, and his response was simply, "Well, if you ever tried that with me, I'd snap his neck like a stick of dry balsa wood."
And I remember the exact phrase about, if that happened to me, I'd break his neck.
The coach who talked about breaking Strauss's neck was Jim Jordan, according to both Ritchie and Flushy, who didn't name him in front of the legislature, but have since confirmed it to CNN.
And what they're saying now is just not accurate.
Mike Flushy, Dan Ritchie, you don't remember telling them you'd break the guy's neck if he did that to you?
Quite a story. Drew Griffin joins me now. Drew, these wrestlers, they're recalling very specific facts about Jordan's knowledge of this. Is he simply not responding to those?
He's not. And Jim, because he was either interrupting us or, as you saw, walking away, we did give him all the details in writing. We've gotten no response, just this flat denial.
Goodness. All right. So Jordan says these wrestlers, he says they're the liars. What incentive do they have to lie?
According to those behind the congressman, the wrestlers are out for money, a lawsuit perhaps with the school, a settlement. But I got to tell you, these wrestlers, by and large, Jim, are telling me they really like Jordan as a coach and a friend. Many of them told us they're speaking out now because they've been watching Jordan lie, they say, for 2 years, and they've just had it.
Goodness. Well, patience running thin, apparently. Drew Griffin, thanks very much for the great reporting. Thanks. Of course, the news continues tonight, so I'm going to hand it over to Chris Cuomo for Cuomo Prime Time.
All right, thanks, Jim. That's important reporting. We got to stay on it. Hello, everybody. I am Chris Cuomo, and welcome to Prime Time. We have the mayor with us tonight from the epicenter of the coronavirus crisis, Seattle, Washington. Why has it become a virtual ghost town? What do they need? Now, maybe more troubling as a question than that is, how do you match the reality on the ground there and in this country with our president claiming he shut down the outbreak? He insists there are already enough tests available. His vice president just told you there are not. We also have tonight an exclusive. Al Franken is with us, the U.S. Senator forced into political exile 2 years ago. He has a take on the election you must see. What do you say? It's Friday night. Let's get after it. All right, let's be clear. It's not about what I think. The president's words form the indictment against him.
We're in great shape. I heard about it in China, came out of China. I heard about it. And we made a good move. We closed it down. We stopped it.
No. And then it goes on. Listen to this.
Anybody that wants a test can get a test. Anybody that needs a test gets a test. They're there. They have the tests. And the tests are beautiful. And the tests are all perfect. Like the letter was perfect. The transcription was perfect, right? This was not as perfect as that, but pretty good.
Talk about a sickness there is no cure for. Those are his words in that hat that should say, keep America greatly misinformed, or keep me first. There is nothing subjective here. Again, the VP, the man in charge, there are not enough tests. The CDC, we had problems with the tests. The CDC, we need more time to get out tests. You want to compare a pandemic? People will live and die on the basis of the approach of this government to this pathetic abuse of power in Ukraine, to that transcript. I just don't understand how people can ignore this, how you can see this as somehow okay. What is the latest? Nearly 300 cases, 15 dead. He didn't shut anything down. But be clear, those numbers, I don't like to see them, but they're almost nothing compared to what we're seeing elsewhere. Thank God. But this president has to stop making it worse with his petty pandering and deception. How do we see it playing out? As you're about to see. Seattle's mayor, Jenny Durkan, okay? She's on the front lines of the fight. Mayor Durkan, I did not bring you here to discuss the president and politics. I want people to be aware of what's happening in your city, what you need to deal with, and how you can get more help. Thank you for joining us, especially now.
Thank you, Chris, for having me here. And I want to say, I may be on the front lines, but the people who are really on the front lines that I am so grateful to are our healthcare workers and our first responders who are trying to keep people safe. They're trying to help families. I have deep condolences to the families who've actually lost people. I think the president fails to appreciate that these are human beings who've lost some of the people most dear to them. And we as a government have an obligation to let people know what the truth is, to know ourselves what the truth is, so that we can prepare both a health response and an economic response. And that's what we need here in Seattle. We have a list of things that we've asked for the federal government for our help in, and I'm hoping that we get it pretty expeditiously.
Information, integrity, follow through. That's leadership in a situation like this. The only thing I must push back on, Mayor, is he doesn't fail to appreciate it. He doesn't fail to understand it. He knows what the reality is. What matters to him more is how he looks. It's the only explanation for trying to compare what he's doing here to the perfection of that Ukraine transcript. It is out of bounds and then some. Back to what matters. Why are you dealing with so much in Seattle right now? And how do you quantify it for the audience?
So I think the first thing people have to understand is that we think we are at the beginning stages of what could be a large outbreak, not just in the Seattle area, but it could be nationwide. And we need the public to know what they can do to protect themselves so that they can. We also need to have the resources we need. I met with Vice President Pence yesterday to get together with Governor Inslee and a number of the members of the congressional delegation. Number one thing we need is broad-scale testing. Most of our public health officials here believe that we actually have more cases of the virus in the community spreading. You may see as we get more testing capability that those numbers go up significantly. That could cause panic because people may think that the disease is suddenly spreading. But we think that what we'll be doing is catching up to the number of diseases that are present here. We have to know what we're dealing with so that we can have the right public health response, so we can protect our first responders, so we can actually protect those people who are most vulnerable to this disease. And that's why government needs to be fully aligned. The people need to know that they're getting accurate information, and we in the state and local level dealing with this have to have the support we need up and down the chain.
And look, the virtue of being honest and transparent is, sure, you'll see a big pop in the number of cases. You'll also see a big pop in the number of cases where people go home, where they're not even hospitalized, where they overcome, because the ratios suggest that 80+% are asymptomatic or overcome it. And people will take confidence in that it's not just the worst cases that you hear about. So, you know what you need. You go to the CDC. The president says, tests for everybody. Tests are ready. They're perfect. They're beautiful. Did you get all the tests you need?
We hope to get those tests shortly. We don't have them yet, but we had additional testing come online today. We will know at the
That's
beginning
your own
of next
testing,
week.
though, right?
We have an institution here that is able to do additional testing. The CDC and FDA have allowed that to happen.
Right.
But we need more test kits. I'm going to get briefed tomorrow and over the weekend to see where we are on that, because it's going to be one of the key things we have to do. Number one, to assess how much has this virus spread in the community, but also so that people can know whether they have the disease or not. If you quarantine a first responder or healthcare worker for 14 days just to